Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Jump Up Supercast. I am your host, Muzzy, and joining me today is Brandon.
I gotta say, I'm really sick of people asking me, Brandon, what are you doing next week? What are you doing next week? I don't know what I'm doing next week. I don't got 20/20 vision, dog.
Hills.
The end is the beginning. The beginning is the end.
And Saf.
In accordance to last week's promise, I'm going to throw my iPad out the window.
Okay, alright.
I don't remember you saying that.
That was the last thing I said about Will's choice.
He's got to do it, though, so he's got to do it. He's got no choice. So this is this is a very special episode of the Jump Up Supercast because it is the end of the year, the final episode of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that means we have one last thing to do, and that is give our Games of the Year awards.
What?
So, we do.
Yeah.
And it's episode 99.
Episode 99, that's a special number in of itself, right?
Yeah. Because we're going to start the new year with episode 100.
100. Isn't that great, man? I'm looking forward to that.
Are you really?
Yeah. It's a special occasion. Right?
Could you try with a little more excitement?
Tone down the optimism.
How many podcasts can make it to episode 100?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Most people give up by like episode 10.
And we have a lot more than 100 episodes already because of the game club.
Considering the game club and all, yeah. It's been we're 2 years strong at this point, right?
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah, we have according to SoundCloud, we have 147 tracks right now.
And I think we've only missed 1 week, right?
This year?
Maybe two. One
Maybe
or two.
two.
I don't think we missed any this year.
No, we didn't miss any this year. Last year, I think you missed like 2.
I thought but still, pretty good run.
Yeah. And it's gonna keep going.
I mean, cockroaches are, notoriously long-lived.
Yeah.
Right?
So, if you didn't notice, Will is not here today, but don't you fret. He will also be giving his thoughts on Game of the Year near the end of the podcast, so look forward to that. But in the meantime, let's get started, shall we? I was going to say, I did want to start the podcast, and I forgot to do it, but I was going to say the only podcast that's brave enough to give 15 games their Game of the Year.
Wow.
Because that's what we're doing. We each have 3 different games that we are giving our Game of the Year to. So not necessarily ordered, not necessarily ranked, though if you want to rank them, that's your call. So, just putting that out there. I believe Will did. I think Will put runner-ups, and then he put his Game of the Year, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Can't follow the rules, that Will.
We made it a point, although some of our opinions might overlap, but we made it a point to not pick any of the same games.
Yes. So I'm gonna be honest with you, one of my actual Game of the Year someone else picked, but that's okay. I had 2019 was a good year. I think we can all agree there, right? 2019 was a really good year. And so I had a lot of games to pick from, to be honest with you. I don't know about you guys, but I found it very easy to make a list this year. So very nice. And that was with like 7 of my picks being taken, So, let's get started right away. So our format this year is going to be a little bit different. I don't know if you guys remember from last year.
I don't know.
Well, so this year we're going to give 3 games for Game of the Year, but we also have 2 special categories this year. And so we're going to give our 3 games of the year, and then we have our old Game of the Year. And so that's going to be our favorite game that did not come out this year, but we played it for the first time, discovered it for the first time in 2019, had a blast with it, and just felt the need to, talk about it. Give you that opportunity, We're so focused on what came out in this calendar year. But, why limit ourselves to just that,
I never do.
Exactly.
We definitely don't. I mean, have you seen the game club?
The game club, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we have one special category. Everyone has made up their own category, basically just to talk about whatever they want, whatever their favorite or not this, or maybe their most hated part of the year. But what just something anything random that they wanted to talk about, just turn it into some sort of category, and just go off on that. So that's how we're doing our games of the year this year. So let's get started. Brandon, do you want to go first with your first game of the year?
Sure, why not? I want to say my favorite game this year came out late in the year. So I guess this would be my number one. And it should come to no surprise that's Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Pokemon
I'm already
Sword and
snoring.
Shield.
Now I know that upsets him, and I'm
Not
sure
really.
there's a horde of nerds that are upset about that as well. But those people, calm down, because this is a really good game. Despite all the controversy, despite everything that went into pre-release before this game, the game came out, and the game was very fun to play. Maybe one of, if not my favorite, like single player campaign in all of Pokemon. There was just something really cool and special about, to me, the league in this game, how it handled gym battles and how it made it like a spectator sport, and it felt like such a spectacle, and it was really, really cool. You know, with the music and the crowds chanting in the background, and you know, with Dynamaxing and making it seem so big and crazy, it was just really fun. And all the gym leaders too had really cool personalities. And it was just so cool. You know, the Rotom's recording it. You know, it was being broadcast on TV. You had a stadium full of people cheering you on. Just what a cool feeling. What a cool thing that's never been done in Pokemon before.
They really, really did lean into like the sports element of it, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
They had like sponsorships for fucking I can't remember what his name is. Leon.
Leon.
Yeah. And he was the champion as well. Like, you had, like, a proper
Leon
tournament
might be the
set.
coolest champion.
Yeah,
he might be the coolest fleshed out champion, too, that the series has ever had.
For sure. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. You know, like, I just... The really turning the gym challenge into this spectacle, making them feel bigger than ever, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's the most hype I've ever felt in a gym battle in Pokemon, right?
Oh,
Just,
yeah, definitely.
Just the way they set up the environment and the music and the crowd is cheering. It's like, it just feels great. It's great that it's like a central part of the story, too, for the first time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, usually you do the gym battles, but, like, you don't really have a reason besides I want to be the best, right? They made the gym challenge more central to the story this time, and I think that's very cool. And like you said, I had a great time with this game. It's one of my favorite Pokemon games for sure.
You know, and that's just one scratch on the surface. It's not even on top of that. The wild area is such a cool thing
For sure.
that they added to the game. I love the wild area, the multiplayer, the raid battles online. You know, like nitpicking aside, like I wish there was like a lobby system or something you could do when you're playing with your friends.
Definitely, yeah.
Not outside of raids, you know, setting up trades and battles and stuff. I wish there was some sort of lobby system. But overall, there was so many quality of life improvements in this game too. Even just last game, it just makes the old game seem archaic in terms of how they handle things. And competitive battling's easier than ever. Just access to everything is just so much easier and it's more streamlined. And despite the Pokemon being cut in the game itself, it's leaps and beyonds of what, you know, I would have even expected in terms of just changes in quality of life to the gameplay. So I really liked it. I've played it a lot, and I'm gonna continue playing it a lot. So into 2020 even. So I appreciate that game. Great game.
Very nice, Brandon. Very nice. I mean, yeah. You know, Pokemon is definitely one of my favorite games of the year too, and it's one of my favorite Pokemon games, straight up. Like they did just a fantastic job with this one. So.
And completing the Pokedex is easier than ever.
Easier than ever, for sure. Yeah.
So complain all you want, but completing the Pokedex is finally like something you can achieve without like wanting to die.
Yeah.
Because there's only 400 Pokemon.
There's only 400 Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know.
And you don't.
But no,
Sorry.
I usually go for Pokedex completion, right? But like this was definitely the breeziest it's ever been. You know, I had a good time doing it too.
And it still gives you a decent amount of gameplay. You know, trying to catch them all. 400 is not a small number.
It took me like I want to say like 80 hours to finally finish it up. You know, it took a while, but like it was.
Exactly.
I felt accomplished, felt good about it. Never felt like it was too overwhelming though. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And catching Pokemon's easier than it ever has been. Too.
I know this game, it's easy to nitpick a lot with a lot of little niggling things. And there's a lot of valid criticisms with this game too, right?
Sure.
But genuinely, it's just, to me, they executed so well on what they wanted to do that, like, I can't find too much fault with it. I really can't. You know? Like, I had a good time. That's all I can say, right? So yeah, thank you, Brandon, for your first game of the year. Saf, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I want to pick I want to talk about Dragon Quest 11S.
Ooh, technically new game. So not old
Technically
game of the
new
year.
Technically.
Yeah, it added more stuff to it than it was that was previous in the previous game. They added more character development for the party members, exploring around Erdrea and just looking at the different towns and the different inspired towns that they have, and seeing the different NPCs and how very much lived in those areas are was so fun. Like just walking around the map as well, and exploration is top notch. It was pretty cool in how they've evolved the franchise to what it is right now. Like it's no longer random about. Sorry, it wasn't no longer random about. Like it, they make it feel a little bit more dynamic. It's a little bit easier to just go through battles. Like you don't need to grind that much when it comes to like fighting enemies and just going through boss battles.
Yeah, I'll say for like the first like 90% of the game, or at least up till Act 2, the first 90% of that is like super easy. You never have to think about anything.
Yeah, you really
like the
don't.
battles are so like simple.
Yeah, it's pretty effortless. Like I literally, Brandon was playing Jackie Chan Stuntmaster. I was literally playing Dragon Quest 11 at the same time, watching him play Jackie Chan Stuntmaster and just talking to him about Jackie Chan, and it was just the most mindless, easiest thing to do. But
which is nice sometimes, with an RPG. Just just turn your brain off and.
Well, I mean here the gameplay is not really the the focus. Well,
Yeah.
it's not the star of the show. The story really is the star of the show because it
Sure.
tells a really good story.
Really good story.
Throughout.
Yeah,
It's a lot of good surprising twists and turns, and
I hear the party members are just wonderful in this game.
everyone but Jade. Well, Jade is kind of like underdeveloped, but everyone else.
Sure,
good.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But like overall, I've heard like it's one of the better JRPG casts. So just like
Oh yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Definitely.
Rab is amazing,
yeah, which is very nice.
and Sylvando, yeah.
Sylvando's the best. I love him so much. A little bit stereotypical, but he's fucking awesome. And yeah.
and Veronica. Oh my god, she's so good. There's there's a part near the end of the game, or near the end of Act 2, where she's just like she does something amazing, and yeah,
she's
real
pretty
good.
baller. Yeah, and Serena in like Act 2 is pretty baller as well. She has a great moment.
Yeah.
In Act
Well,
2.
yeah, they're twins, so they're kind of like linked together. But yeah,
Yeah.
And but like overall, this Dragon Quest is known for being like I don't want to be overly dismissive, but like it is very much rooted in tradition, right?
Mhm.
Totes.
Yeah.
But from what I can tell, just from what I've heard and the little bit I've played, it just seems to be like the best execution of that, though, right? Like just like yes, this is very much like what you expect in a JRPG, but it just excels in every area.
Yeah.
There's that, and also it's like super accessible. This is like the most accessible like a Dragon Quest game that I've ever played.
Right.
There's so many like quality of life things in this game that make it really fun and easy to play. It's never like it never feels like work.
Right. Which can happen a lot with JRPGs, right?
Yeah.
And so getting rid of that tedium, I think, is very nice too.
Yeah.
Like they have a crafting mechanic in it, and it's pretty fucking easy to get through. Like it's not that.
Yeah.
hard,
Oh,
just a quick
it's
mini-game.
actually a pretty fun mini game. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I spent quite a few hours just crafting random shit that I didn't really need because it's just pretty decent.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Surprisingly engaging.
I mean, yeah. So Dragon Quest 11. I mean, they added a lot with the Switch version, obviously, right? It did come out before, but that's I think S was special enough to call it a 2018 game.
They added a 2D mode.
Yeah, a whole new way to play, right? That's basically a new game in of itself, which I think is really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's Dragon Quest 11. Thank you, Saf. Ills, you want to talk about your next game, your first game of the year, I should say?
Sure. Technically this will be like the lowest ranked game of the year if we're doing ranks, but sure. Ring Fit Adventure is what I'm going to talk about. It came out for Switch this year, and I don't know. We've talked about this game before, but it's an exercise game. It comes with a tension ring that you hook your Joy-Con into and a leg strap, And basically, I mean, you do a bunch of exercises to go through this fantasy RPG world, and it's pretty dope. I mean, it works really well. Like you actually feel tired when you're doing the exercises. You jog to run through the world. The worlds look really nice. Like the characters are good, and like I feel like, well, I know that I'm only like halfway through this game, and I feel like I've been playing it forever, but it's so long, and it keeps just expanding and getting harder, more challenging, more more interesting. Like at a certain point in the game, I think it's like when you get to like level 40, you unlock skills to spend your skill points that you get every level. And like I thought that the grid was only going to be this big for however long, and then you get to like level 80 and then the grid expands. I'm like, what the fuck?
Like, oh god,
How?
there's so much more.
How is there more? And I thought I was near the end of the game like a month ago, and I'm not. I'm not even close. It's fucking insane.
And I mean, that's great for an exercise game, right? Keeps you going.
Yeah.
Keeps you. And I think that's part of why this is such a cool game to come out, right? Just like, I mean, I'm glad you called it out, because it just what a neat game to exist, right?
Yeah.
This exercise game that like uses video, like an actual video game, to motivate you to better yourself,
Yeah. And I can feel like the mechanics actually pushing me on, because I want to fucking beat these enemies. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to start over these worlds. I want to progress. So sometimes I don't want to do like squats, but if I have to beat the enemy, I'm gonna have to do those squats. So there you go. Yeah. It's just like it gets rough sometimes. Yeah, but it's really cool. I like how it motivates you.
Very nice, very nice, and it's very accessible too, right? Because I think it does a good job of like, attuning the difficulty to your fitness level, right? While still pushing you, right? But
you can change the level of difficulty.
Yeah, there's so many ways to customize it. There's so many ways to change it that to make it your personalized adventure. So you can, and so to the point where you can still feel like you're making progress, and you are making progress, right?
Yeah.
While not necessarily having the same load as someone else would, right?
Yeah.
Or more, whatever it is. But like, I think it's very cool that like it scales in a way that is accessible for everyone.
And also, it also does a good job of like tracking all your data, like how many squats you've done, like throughout your whole playthrough, or throughout that session. They give you a bunch of titles for all these things that you accomplished. Like if you do like Warrior 3 like 1,000 times, you get a different title, something like that. So it's a lot of...
Which is like that in of itself. It does a great job of continuously making you feel like you're achieving something, right?
Yeah.
Not just through your physical exertion, which you feel great in that too, of course, right? But also just through like you said, like you were determined to beat this enemy, or you got these achievements, or you did this, It ticks the right boxes to make you want to keep going, and that's not easy to do. So kudos to them.
Yeah. Feels good to get achievements, huh?
Not really, but okay.
Anything else?
Fuck, I was gonna say something else, but I forgot. Never mind. Go ahead. Whatever.
Okay. And that leaves me, I guess. And so my first game of the year is my actual game of the year, I would say. Another game actually, but whatever. Out of the games I picked, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. This is the first time I've played a FromSoft game. I mean, I've dabbled with Bloodborne, I've dabbled with Dark Souls, but never really got far enough. I did enjoy them, but I never really got that far in them.
Why was this the game that you actually...
I think I know what it is, but like...
Because you lost a bet.
Well, no. Sekiro does this incredible job. It just clicked with me instantly of this, like... I just for me personally, this is just for my own taste. I'm not saying this is better than Souls or Bloodborne or whatever. But I think focusing entirely on being an action game, and not having those RPG elements in them, and so designing each combat encounter around like, well, look, this is your moveset, and this is all you've got. You cannot make yourself better, really. Like, sure, there's some skills and stuff, but like, you gotta learn these boss fights. And the combat system is genuinely, and I mean this like it's a big statement, but I really do mean this. I think it's one of the best combat systems in a game, just flat out. You know, this game feels incredible, especially as as you go through a boss. You're having a hard. First, you just completely get demolished, but then you slowly start learning, do better and better and better. Eventually, you overcome, and you feel fucking incredible. The parry system. Yes,
that's the
From
Software.
How all their games?
No,
that's
the
From
Software. That's the From
Software.
Software. Yes.
Yeah.
I know. But I just think just removing those RPG elements and just the setting, I'm personally just more interested. I think the setting is cool. The movement in this game is very good, and I really do think the parry system just really brings their combat together in a way that I hope I not necessarily to be as parry focused as Sekiro is, but I do hope they bring over that parry to their future games because it feels just incredible, especially the sound design of the when you do a perfect parry, the sword clings in a way that just makes you like, yes, like I did, I'm so good. And yeah, I don't know, like it just that clicked with me so well. To the point where I'm like, I want to play Bloodborne now. I want to play Dark Souls. Like I want to go back and play all these games. Oh, I know they don't have all the specific things I like about.
Well, they have parries.
Sure, yeah, but it's just the parry in Sekiro just feels fucking phenomenal. I'm telling you, like it's just and yeah, so I fell in love with this game. I'm at the end. I'm at the final boss. Having a hard time with him. I'm getting there. I'm getting better though. I've got him down to his last phase.
I thought you beat it.
No. I'm at the final boss, and I've been at the final boss for 2 days now because it is hard.
Yeah, I thought you said it was the coolest final boss you ever had. Like beat, and I was like, "What?"
I didn't say beat. I said it's the coolest final boss in video game history, and
that's a ridiculous statement.
That is, you look, play Sekiro till the end, and you'll see what I mean.
I don't know. I just played Undertale, and that was a pretty cool ass final boss.
True. Yeah. So I don't know. Like this game, just moving in this game too. I think your movement options, your combat options, they just feel like. It's so fluid and just I don't know, man. It this weird part of me, like I think it satisfies the same part of my brain as like when I'm playing like a good rhythm game. It just, especially with the boss fights, of it's just like just nailing the parries, attack parry. It's just like it's a dance, Yeah. And oh man, I just feel so alive playing that game.
Okay.
And yeah, so Sekiro it's one of the best games I've ever played. To be honest with you, I adore this game.
Put on the list, coward.
I am now a FromSoft evangelist.
Why didn't you believe me before?
I don't like it.
Why didn't you believe me before?
You were right all along. I can admit my mistakes. You were right. All right, so that is my first game of the year. Before we go into our next game of the year, why don't we just mix it up a little bit? Let's go into our old game of the year, shall we?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, just keep it interesting. So, my old game of the year. I'm gonna go snake order if I remember who went when. So my old game of the year is Final Fantasy XIV. This game, it's an MMO. And so immediately it's easy to scoff at. It's like, oh man, MMO. I don't know who has time for that. Who has money
definitely
for that?
don't.
Yeah,
I do not. There's no way.
Yeah, but me being the idiot I am, I was like, I want to play FF14. And I'll tell you, it consumed me. Like I played 40 hours in the span of like 2.5 weeks.
That's nothing on an MMO. Come on.
No, I know.
Yeah, that's
not.
What
are you like level 10 right now?
Yeah. There's nothing on this game. I know. But man, the game, it's phenomenal. It really is. I get the hype now. I understand why people love it. I went through the entirety of A Realm Reborn, which was great in of itself. Now I'm moving on to Heaven's Word, which is apparently one of the greatest Final Fantasy stories ever told. So I'm looking forward to that. Jesus. And then, and apparently Shadowbringers that came out this year is also one of the greatest Final Fantasy stories ever told. So, there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot in this game. But it just, and like, yes, I think A Realm Reborn fell into some traps of like, There were some parts that were overly grindy. There were some parts that were overly, or it's not grindy, but fetch questy. A lot of backtracking, which can be annoying, but I didn't mind it too much. They have this brilliant system, the roulette system, which basically, like, you have to do, you'll do a random dungeon every day to get, like, a huge chunk of bonus XP, right? Mm-hmm. And basically what this does is it'll queue experienced players into dungeons that newer people are playing for the first time, basically. So it's very easy, even when you're playing solo, to just play this game for the first time, go through the dungeons, and you'll immediately be able to find people to play with you because the way the roulette system is set up, which I think is brilliant.
Have you played any other MMOs?
No, this is the first time I really dug into an MMO. Yeah,
they do something similar in World of Warcraft.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I don't know exactly what innovation FF14 brings versus like just what's carried over from WoW or other stuff, but it's great. I had a great time with it. The combat system is just really addicting. I played as an Arcanist, which is just a ton of fun. I honestly, now that I'm off for a month, I think I'm gonna subscribe for another 30 days and play through some Heavensward.
Plus, they brought over some Nier Automata stuff, didn't they?
Yes,
recently?
Yes, yeah. They did, and that was actually the reason I started playing in the first place. I was like, you know what, Nier Automata, I love that game. You know, I'm willing to play through 7 million hours to get to the Nier Automata content.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's really tempting because I mean, I love Final Fantasy stories. You know, especially the good ones, and I kind of want to see what all the hype is about, but you know, I don't have the time. So
I think this year in particular, it was really hard for me to resist the hype because the way people were talking about Shadowbringers, man, it was like I cannot resist anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
The only thing that sucks is that you got to put every other game out of the way. You know, just yeah. No,
you must be on a different part of the internet than me because I never heard anybody talking about that at all.
Well, sure, but I guess I just know a lot of people who love Final Fantasy. And just Final Fantasy fans have just been raving about Shadowbringers in particular. So I'm excited to get there. Though again, it's gonna take me a long time.
Man, when are they gonna make a good fucking single player Final Fantasy again?
Well, this is unrelated, but there's some rumors that the FF14 team is making FF16. So
that would be nice. I mean, Jesus Christ.
If that team has proven their worth, you know. So
I don't know what you're talking about. Final Fantasy 12 was fucking awesome. Shut up.
Well, I'm not saying otherwise.
Final Fantasy 12 was awesome.
Final Fantasy 12 was also over a decade ago.
I'm sorry, you didn't let me finish. You cut me off. I meant to say Lightning Returns.
Okay.
Okay, that's 13-3.
That's 13.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You fake fan.
I think 14.
I am not even a fan at all.
Yeah, he doesn't like Final Fantasy, but I think 14.
He hasn't played a Final Fantasy. How did you know if he likes it or not?
I have. That is a false narrative.
Okay, well, whatever.
I never finished the Final Fantasy.
I think FF14 is, especially great for burnt out Final Fantasy fans like myself. I think Ills is included in that group of just like 13 was bad, 15 was disappointing.
Worse.
It was 15, and then so it's like Final Fantasy hasn't been truly great in well over a decade. Like actually, you know, that's a long ass time, and I think FF14 really resonates with longtime fans of the franchise like that. People, especially fans of just the older games. So yeah, FF14. That's my old game of the year.
Nice.
Ills, what is your old game of the year?
Sure. Okay, so I played South Park: The Stick of Truth 2 months ago. I mean,
Cool.
It's not technically my old game of the year because I played a lot of great games this year, but I wanted to talk about this game because we've talked about the other games already before.
Sure.
So, South Park: Stick of Truth, you know, I think it was released in 2014 or something like that. And basically you're in the South Park world and they're like doing the, you know, kind of fantasy RPG kind of elements to it, like sort of like play on what the fuck is it? Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Shit like that. And Yeah, so I mean, it has the South Park humor. It has a gameplay style kind of like Paper Mario, where you have your main created character, and then you have like a partner character who has all these skills and stuff. And I just thought it was very fun. It's kind of a game you can tackle in one sitting if you're really into it, and I was really into it. I just played it straight for one day because sometimes these games come along when I just don't feel any need to put the controller down, and this was one of those games. Yeah, so I
Fun game.
it. Yeah,
I've always been interested in it. People say the combat is really fun in particular.
yeah. I mean,
It is.
think Paper Mario. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, look, like Nintendo has not satisfied me on that front in a long while, So
Yeah.
like, maybe I need to pick this game up too.
Yeah, if you like South Park, I mean, obviously that sense of humor can turn some people off.
It's not for everyone,
But
it's mostly funny, but sometimes it gets a little gross.
There's a part where testicles come swinging at you in the middle of the battle.
I mean that part, but also like you're climbing into some guy's asshole. And
that too.
It's kind of gross.
There's anal probing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of raunchy humor to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it's South Park. If you know South Park, you expect.
Yeah, you kind of know what to expect with South Park, though, right? Yeah.
But the dialogue is extremely well done, and honestly, if that sense of humor is your style, then you're gonna find this game hilarious. I mean, it was written by Matt and Trey, and it's fucking great.
Yeah, and the story has some pretty good twists to it too, and it's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I didn't like about it was the Canada section, but that happens late in the game, and it's pretty.
It's
short.
kind of funny though.
It's pretty
like
short.
A 8-bit RPG throwback like kind of section. As
Yeah.
soon as you get into Canada.
Yeah, it kind of went on a little long. That was the only thing. But yeah, good game, fun.
Cool.
Has a sequel too.
It has a sequel too. Are you gonna play it, Els? Did you like it? enough
Maybe.
to-
I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
I already own this game, so that's why I played it.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Whereas Fractured But Whole would require an extra purchase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Safi, what is your old game of the year?
It's a game that we've already talked about, but I've always had it set as like my old game of the year, which is J.J. Macfield and Island of Memories. This is a game
You can't
I
get
played.
enough.
Yeah.
Well,
He never stops.
The
This is a
missing
game that I-
JJ Macfield.
Yeah, this is a game that I played in early 2019 because I didn't have time to play it in 2018, and I regretted it because I could have put it on my old game of the year list.
It could have been one of your GOTYs last year.
Yeah, it could have been, but it never happened. So now that
Yeah.
this randomly happened, it's like, you know what? I might as well fix that issue. I don't know what.
And make
to
everyone
say.
else play it.
I don't know what.
Yeah,
to
you
say.
made us play it too.
Yeah, I did. I don't know what else to say that hasn't been said last week or even on the Game Club. But
Yeah,
it is a
listen to the
great game,
Club.
and it's deserving of Game of the Year for me at the very least. Like, it belongs on that list just to remedy an old wrong.
Nice. That's nice. You went back to 1 year prior, and you're like, holy shit, this should have been on my GOTY straight up last year. I like that.
Yeah.
If you want to hear more about us talk about the missing JJ Macfield and the Island of Memories, I think I got the title right.
Yeah.
Check out the Jump Up Supercast Game Club episode on the game. It is on your podcast feed. Just go through it, look at it, listen, give it a listen because it's a fun listen.
Yeah, and if you haven't played the game before, though, make sure you skip the spoiler section.
Skip the spoiler section. They do warn you. They give you fair
Yes, we
warning.
do.
So
We do.
yeah, so don't worry about that. All right, very very cool, Saf. Brandon, what is your old game of the year?
Well, if you don't know, if you're not in it, you don't listen to the podcast all the time, or you might have missed out on this, but we at the beginning of last year, and we're going to be doing it again this year, we chose games on the list that we haven't played yet. Each of us chose a different game, so we each had to play 5 games. So I had to play 5 different games, as we all did this year, and one of the games I had to play was Okami, which is, of course, already on the list. But I would say that's my favorite old game that I played this year. Yeah, I got lucky. I had some good games to play, like Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and Undertale, So I had good games. I really did. I got pretty lucky in that regard. I didn't have to play trash it, for example.
He wanted to play it. He wanted that.
He's a sick Noah is a sick man. But yeah, I did get lucky, and I got to play some good games like Okami as well. And I gotta say, yeah, I might not be the best. I think Symphony of the Night I might say is better than Okami, but I just really liked Okami. There was just something about that game that was just it was long. I think it was the longest game I had before Xenoblade Chronicles got swapped out. Before Xenoblade got swapped out, but it was still really good. I really liked it a lot. It was if you don't know about Okami, you play as a wolf, old Japanese style. It's like an action. It's like a Zelda game. Basically,
it's very Zelda. Yes, you can tell it's inspired by Zelda. It plays very similarly to Zelda.
Yeah, you
coincidentally came out in the same year as the Zelda with the wolf.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's just cool. It's got a cool story. It drags on a bit at the end. Yeah, that's one of the complaining points when we put it on the list. I honestly didn't think I dragged on as bad as everybody.
Maybe you were mentally prepared for it, so you were like, okay,
yeah, maybe I was. Yeah, and I just thought the combat was really good. And the brush technique thing was really cool. And what can you say about the visuals? If you've never seen Okami, you should look it up because it uses like a watercolor paintbrush like aesthetic, and it looks fucking awesome. So it's a game that you should try, and it's probably, like I said, my favorite old game that I played this year, outside of Psychonauts, but I picked that last week.
You picked it, yeah. Also, a shout out to the beautiful art style, right? I mean, that's one of the best parts of Okami, I would say.
I said that.
Did you? I didn't.
I did.
He just said that.
Well, you know what? Extra shout out to the art style because it is worth mentioning twice. That's how good it is. It is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. So yeah. All right, and that is our old games of the year, our favorite games we played this year that did not come out in the calendar year. So, Brandon, what is your next actual game of the year? The game that came out this year, 2019.
Next game is Luigi's Mansion 3. Had a lot of fun with this game. Was looking forward to it for a while. You know, I love Luigi's Mansion, the first one, a lot. The second one was a letdown, but from everything we saw lead up to this game, I knew it was going to be a good time, you know, from E3 and everything. They put a lot of spotlight on it, and I was just really excited. I got to say, it lived up to those expectations. I just had a real fun time playing this game. It brought back, like, portrait ghosts, very unique boss fights. I would say this is the best Luigi's Mansion there is now.
Yeah, easily, I would say. Yeah.
Beat out the first game. Controls more fluid. Just more. We're going along on a lot of things here, but I gotta say, Luigi's Mansion 3, one hell of a game. Recommend the hell out of it. Give it a shot, especially if you're a fan of the series.
And shout out to the visuals.
Yeah. It's very pretty. Well, maybe one of the prettiest Switch games out there. I know you're making fun of me, but I agree. Also, just this game is just charming, just charm galore. You know, just fucking. Next Level Games did a really good job of that. So.
Yeah, they really made Luigi just the most adorable fucking thing out there.
Mm-hmm. And I really liked, none of the puzzles were super hard, but they were inventive enough to keep you thinking, and it just felt good to play and solve the puzzles and go through. Each ghost fight is almost like a puzzle in itself. You have to figure out their weaknesses and when to attack them and stuff. So it's really good.
Yeah, agree. Okay, well, Saf, your turn. Your next game of the year.
The next game of the year would be Link's Awakening for the Switch.
Once again, technically a game that did not come out this year, but it counts because it got remade. So.
Yeah, no, that was a fantastic game. Like it really did make some major improvements to what was already a classic. They had some new quality of life adjustments to like the controls. Like you have independent buttons for like your swords and for running, which was a pain in the ass to get to when it came to like the Game Boy version, where you just had to like, assign it to boots or assign your sword to your buttons.
Being limited to 2 buttons on the Game Boy really, you could
it was
feel
a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so freeing that up definitely just improved the game tenfold, really. If not more.
Dramatically.
Just yeah.
And the transformation from being like a small square, incredibly small, incredibly limited Game Boy screen to like just a 720p actual TV screen is incredible. Like they really translated this game incredibly well. Like there was a lot of talent that you can tell has been put through to it. The art style is absolutely fantastic. I enjoy it. The fact that they've used like kind of like, I don't know what to describe it, like clay model style art.
I think it's like
figurines
toy
almost.
model.
Yeah.
Like a little diorama type thing.
Yeah.
It makes me wish that the A Link Between Worlds was in that exact same style, because that's like a really nice style too.
It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. And you know, we talked about it when we re-ranked it shortly after the game came out. But like, just I'm really glad that they kept the core game the same, right? While just like you said, the 2 key improvements of making you be able to see more of the world and also just having more buttons to work with, right? Just those 2 changes really just allowed you to appreciate the brilliance of this game, you know, in a way that, like, I mean, it is really just wonderful. It is, I think I speak for everyone at this point when I say it's like the best 2D Zelda, at least in this group. Or close.
Well, I know
close.
I would agree with
Try
that.
again.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know how I already felt about the game before.
It's close anyway. It's up there. I should.
I
say.
mean, second best is technically close to first best, right?
Yeah. But you know, I mean, this game is, we fucking love it, clearly. And I'm glad Nintendo remade it, because it really just let more people experience the game in just the best possible way they could, and that's.
I think that's what I said too when we were talking about it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, Ills, what's your next game of the year?
All right, so second best game of the year, we're gonna go with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Cool.
It's kind of a basic choice because we've heard a lot of talk about this game from all kinds of people in all kinds of places, and just like I did last year with God of War, and yeah, so I played this game really, really recently, like 3 days ago, and it's really good. I mean, it plays like Uncharted meets what's the game I'm looking for? Crap, I had this in my head. Uncharted meets Dark Souls meets something else. Who cares? Anyway, the gameplay is it's strong. The only thing I don't like about it is that the combat is kind of not always easy to tell when you're like getting hit or when you're causing damage to the other guy. Like it's pretty difficult.
Visual feedback is not its strong suit, I'll say that much.
Yeah, like visually, and also like you can't tell when you're breaking through their defenses all the time. It's pretty difficult. But other than that, I mean, the gameplay itself is not hard. And I think the story is really told really well, and the characters are really good. Like Seer and the second sister and Grease and all these dudes. They're all
I heard the story was really good, and it tells like a really cool Star Wars story.
Yeah, better than what you would expect, I think.
Did you fall in love with BD1?
Perhaps better story than the movie that came out this year.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would say yes. And I think
I heard good things about your little sidekick in that game. I heard he was adorable.
Oh yeah, BD1 is really cool. And it ends on a really high note. Like I think the ending sequence is really awesome. So
I'm looking forward to playing more, because I literally just started it last night.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to it, especially from your high praise about the ending. That gives me.
Yeah, and they have some like really gorgeous sections. Like when you have to climb the origin tree in Kashyyyk. Oof, this looks so fucking good. Like,
and you played
like, overwhelming.
1X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So very, very.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game looks amazing for sure.
Awesome. All right, cool. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. My next game of the year is a little unknown. Though it's been getting some buzz if you play a lot of indie games, see a lot of stuff about indie games. The game is called Baba Is You. This game is a little puzzle game, and it's honestly one of the most inventive puzzle games I've seen. The core conceit is like it'll use sentences like, Baba is you, wall is stop, and you can shift things around to change the properties of certain objects, and you do that by literally moving around the words. Like you move the word is and combine it to different sort of statements. It's such a neat concept. They execute it really well. It's hard. It is really hard. But if you get frustrated easily at puzzles, I would not recommend it. However, I do think I had a blast at this game. I haven't even finished it. There's a lot of puzzles in this game. There's a lot of puzzles, and a lot of them take a lot of time, if I'm being honest with you, just because they're all pretty much single screen, but like it takes a lot of brain power. It does, and I lack that, so it takes me a while. But yeah, if you like puzzle games, I highly recommend it. It's very different from what you usually consider a puzzle game, but it really is just, I think, so brilliant. So it's just genius, and so yeah, I would highly recommend. It's very cheap too, so just throw that out there. Baba Is You. That is my second game of the year.
Nice.
All right, and then before we go into our final game of the year, let's do our special category. So, the way this works, we basically each came up with our own category of just whatever the fuck we want to talk about, basically. So, I'm going to give you my example. So, my category is favorite fan project of 2019. And for me, that would have to be the fan translation of Great Ace Attorney. So, Great Ace Attorney, thanks to the hard work and effort of a bunch of dedicated fans who, wanted to make sure that the most amount of people can play this game, which was previously just in Japan, and Capcom had no intention of localizing it. This game
did not come out in 2019, by the way, so it's a weird loophole that you're going down.
No, but the fan translation did.
I know. I'm just saying the original game didn't.
And that's the point of this category. It doesn't have to. It's just something that happened this year, and it's whatever you want.
Sure.
Yeah. Just to illustrate what this whole thing is about. So yeah. So because of the hard work of these fans, this game is able to be played for the first time in English this year. It's a fantastic game, by the way. The localization, they did a really good job. I would say up to the standards of Capcom's own localization, which is high praise. Because the Ace Attorney games have wonderful localizations. If you're an Ace Attorney fan, I would definitely recommend checking it out because it is a great
That's
game.
Me!
That's you, Brandon. Yeah, and I'm gonna be real with you. This game was never gonna get officially localized. It just never will. Capcom's never gonna do it. So so if you're waiting for an official release, it's just not happening. So just get it over with, bite the bullet.
Yeah. Well, now we gotta wait. I guess you gotta wait for them to do the second game now too. Are they already working on that?
Yeah, they are already working on the second game. They immediately went from the first game into the second game, and so that'll come out.
Is it the same people who did the one for Miles Edgeworth too?
So no? I think it's some of the same people, but not entirely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will say, the localization was great. Cool. I think Investigations 2's fan translation is just really on another level, but this was still very, very good.
So cool. Nice.
And very nice. It's just cool, it's so great that this game that was pretty much going to be impossible for me to play because some people just decided to volunteer their time to make this happen. I was able to do so, and I'm just thankful for that.
Well, we've done that a couple times on the Game Club.
Once
with Pokemon Trading Card Game 2.
Oh, twice, yeah.
Fire Emblem, the Binding or whatever, the Burning Blade.
The Binding Blade.
Binding Blade. Yeah, so we played a couple fan translations, and they'll probably have more to come. And we really appreciate the people who put a lot of hard work into doing them. So
absolutely, yes. By the way, check out those Game Club episodes.
There you go.
All right, Ills, what is your special category?
All right, my category is game that surprisingly works. And the game I will talk about is Creature in the Well. It's an indie game that came out this year. And it's basically pinball mechanics in an adventure game. So you're a robot going through a giant machine trying to fix it. And you're using basically you're hitting balls, orbs back into like bumper-like mechanisms in order to gain more energy in order to power the machine. And it's pretty dope. I mean, you use one attack button to kind of catch the ball and the other attack button to smash it, whichever direction you need to go. And in the beginning, it's pretty simplistic. But by the end, it almost felt like I was playing Geometry Wars. Like I was dodging so much stuff coming at me. And
I love Geometry Wars.
Yeah. So it actually tells a decently interesting story. Like it's not all told. It's more told through visuals and stuff. But basically the creature in the well is he maintains a presence throughout. Like he's always staring at you. You're always like fighting him back. It's pretty well told. And lastly, gotta give a special shout out to those visuals, man. Yeah, the colors really pop. Even though like it's like the same areas over and over, they reuse the same areas. Like they're all colored in such a way that they all look amazing. So yeah.
Nice. I really like that. I really like your category description because I think it fits Creature in the Well so perfectly.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a lot more frustrating. I thought it was gonna be a lot less engaging or interesting, and it was all those things.
They pulled it off.
Yeah, they really did.
Nice.
This is another one of these.
It's a game I've always wanted to play, so that's good. It's good to hear somebody else played it and said it was good.
Yeah.
By the way, it's on Xbox Game Pass.
That's why. That's where I played it. And fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say again. Never mind. Keep going.
This keeps happening.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Safi, what is your special category?
My special category is just highly personal. It is basically the best game that I can't play at all. And for that game,
Nice.
it's just literally Devil May Cry 5. It's because my hand is still kind of sore, so I can't really play much in many intense action games. And Devil May Cry was a game. Devil May Cry 5 was a game that I was super excited for, but I couldn't really get invested in because of this issue. But I did watch it, and I've seen like gameplay of it, and I've seen like story elements of it. And it looks incredibly good. The mechanics of this game is still classic. It's classic Devil May Cry battle mechanics. It's a little bit more. The level design is a little bit more well designed. Like in 4, you had a part of the game where you played as Dante, but you were playing on Nero's levels, and you can tell that it wasn't designed around Dante because some of the enemies and some of the fights were a little less engaging than you would have if you played through that level as Nero. But in this game, they've kind of catered it more towards the characters' own abilities and skills, and the characters that you can choose from have their own independent abilities and are unique in their own ways, which is pretty well. Is pretty creative and pretty well designed. They added V as a character, and V is an incredibly strange, unique fighting style of you just use summon creatures and you fight with those summon creatures. Instead of fighting out with V himself, you just fight with his creatures, which is really, really nice. The music is fantastic. The cutscene, the stories, the characters, they're all great as well. And the art style.
Did you watch this game?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Did
Yeah.
he mention he watched
he
the
did.
game? He
Oh.
watched the whole game.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I watch gameplay and and that's the thing. Like I only want to watch gameplay and I only want to get experience of it through the gameplay, but I just end up watching the entire game because it was just that entertaining. Like it was really, really fun.
Maybe one day your hands will heal and you'll be able to finally play this game.
And then you can break them again when you play this game.
And then if you have an Xbox, you can play it on Game Pass.
You can play it on Xbox Game Pass. Phil Spencer, why aren't you paying us?
Seriously. Get 3 months for $1.
Yeah, just go full on advertisement. Yeah. All right, Safi. Well, that was Devil May Cry 5. It's Saf's favorite game he couldn't play. So very cool. Brandon, what is your special category?
So before I tell you what my category is, I had this revelation earlier because you picked two out of the three that we talked about already are indie games, right? And I've been really into indie games the last couple of years, and they've kind of come on their own. And one thing I had this realization earlier that I almost like indie games now more than I like AAA games.
Honestly, same.
Yeah, and AAA games, sometimes I kind of scoff at them because I think they're these overproduced, overhyped, never live up to the expectations. They spent millions of dollars on them, and they just don't work as well as a game that's made by 15, 20 people, and it's just wild to me. And I was like, am I? I always thought it was annoying when people were movie fans and they were these snooty people who were like, I only watch indie films. Hollywood blockbusters suck. And I always was annoyed at those people. And I'm like, am I becoming that kind of person for video
What
games?
a hipster.
It was such a weird realization I had earlier today. Although I don't think I'm fully in that camp, but yeah, I don't know. It's just something. Sometimes I just, AAA games, sometimes they suck really bad. Maybe it's because people have bigger expectations from them. Because if you have a sucky indie game, people are just like, oh, whatever, right? They don't talk about it and they move on. But it's because they don't blow millions of dollars, I think, on these games to have them come out sucky. It's just crazy that's a comparison that you can make nowadays. So my category is favorite game that was narrated by Queen Latifah. No, I'm just kidding. But it actually fixed into this game because mine is best game I completed in an afternoon.
I was interested in the Queen Latifah one, to be honest with you.
Well, that's still this game.
Okay.
And that's Sayonara Wild Hearts. I actually played it earlier today, of all things. I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't go to work this morning. Still a little under the weather, but I'm still here. But I decided I'm just gonna start Sayonara Wild Hearts because I haven't started it yet. I bought it on sale a couple weeks ago, and I beat it. And it only took me about 2 hours. But I gotta say, it is a 2 hours that is well worth playing. The game is really cool. I was attracted to it when I first saw it at the Game Awards last year, 2018, when they first revealed it, because the visual style and the music, and those are honestly the two selling points, right, when you play this game. Because it's like a rhythm game that just combines it's really crazy gameplay. It's all over the place too, which is cool in a good way. Basically, you move your character around. You only use the control stick and one button, but it's constantly changing, perspectives and gameplay styles.
Yeah, they do a lot with it.
They do, and it's really cool. The levels are kind of short. The game doesn't take too long to beat, like I said, but the music is fantastic and just visually stunning. It just looks really fucking cool while you play. And right near the end of the game, I was thinking, wow, do I suck at this game? I get some silvers, sometimes bronze, but I hadn't got a gold, and there's just clicked on the second to last level, and I just got a gold rank. It was just, and it felt really cool because it was damn, I don't know. It's just rhythm games can sometimes put you in a really cool place where you just click with the music and it becomes easy, but it's hard to explain with rhythm games, but. It's a really neat game, and it doesn't take long. I would definitely suggest, if you ever find this game for cheap, definitely pick it up, because it's really fucking cool. And if you like pop music, you'll like it even more, because it's got some really cool songs in it.
The way they describe it is very apt, too, right? They call it a pop album video game, and that's basically what it is, And
yeah. I don't know who does the vocals. Can't remind me. I don't know if it is, but I don't know if you've heard of Churches. They did a song for friggin' Death Stranding. They performed at the Game Awards, but the music is very much in the style of Churches. If you ever listen to that,
I like the soundtrack a lot. And when you beat the game, actually, they unlock a very cool mode where just the levels just you go seamlessly one into another. No pause break or anything. No result screen.
So you can play the whole album.
Play the whole album, so you're listening to the album while you're kind of engaging with it, and I think that's cool. Yeah. They call it an interactive pop album,
right?
Pop album, and I think that's just very neat. And I'm all for it.
And Queen Latifah is the narrator, so you can't.
Yeah. You find that out at the end. You're like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's just and It's just like the last thing they do, and they're like, oh, and Queen Latifah as the narrator. And like I'm sitting here, like I knew that voice sounded familiar, and I was like, oh shit, that's the best reveal all year, best reveal of 2019.
Yeah. And man, it's just cool to have a game that you can just blast through in a single session, you know?
Yeah.
Like obviously you don't want all your games to be like that, but it's definitely nice to have those games. It's just like, oh, boom, you start it, you finish it that same day, you feel good about it. It's great all the way through. And that's how I feel about Silent Hill.
Doesn't overstay its welcome.
Alrighty, thank you, Brandon. Safi, what is your final game of the year?
Fire Emblem Three Houses.
You're not doing the snake order, huh?
I am doing the snake order.
No, he's supposed to go again.
Oh, no, wait. Oh, that wasn't Brandon's game of the year. I'm sorry. Brandon, go again.
No, well, Saf, you already said it. I'll go after Saf.
Okay.
Let's talk about Fire Emblem.
Let's talk about Fire Emblem. This is my actual game of the year, by the way. I just want to...
This would replace Star Wars for me in mine.
Yeah. No, it's a fantastic game. It is probably the best Fire Emblem has gotten in terms of its game, in terms of story, in terms of character, in terms of the type of levels that you have for the strategy. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So what it is just, well, you're a teacher of a monastery. You teach students how to become soldiers, and you just pick the house that you feel as though you feel you like the most. And through the interaction with these students, you get to know them better. You get to hear the stories, and you get to feel more sympathy for them as you progress through their support links, and you progress through the story. There's a pretty wild jump in the. I don't even want to know if I
time skip.
Spoil it. Yeah, fine. Time skip. Let's just spoil it. No, it's pretty wild time skip in the middle of it, and it's just kicks up a gear as a result of it. It's a pretty fun Fire Emblem game. It's a really good Fire Emblem game.
I mean, yeah, it's the best Fire Emblem there is. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's pretty much like it. And I especially like just being able to mold your characters this time into just any way you want. It is so versatile. Obviously, the game kind of pushes you in certain directions for certain characters.
Yeah,
you don't have to.
The class system is. I wish there was a little bit more options in the master class.
The end game of that is a little disappointing. I definitely agree there.
But yeah, I do like all the changes they made to the magic system in this game. Just the amount that they lean into the character relationships. Like they feel way more developed than they ever have. Like they're clearly
for sure
a huge focus in this game in a way that they never were in any other games. Mm-hmm. So it's good that they finally leaned into that more.
And I think the overall the world of this game is so interesting. One of the more interesting settings in a Fire Emblem game yet. I was just so interested in the overall narrative, this continent that has been filled with war and all sorts of crazy splits, and it's one of the more interesting worlds they've ever made for Fire Emblem, and I think that's cool.
And I also think the combat animations finally rival the sprites from GBA.
This is the first 3D game to really just make the combat animations way more interesting than they were in the 3DS games.
Well, I was talking about the GBA games, but yeah.
No, I'm saying though that this is way more.
Oh yeah, they are. I'm saying they finally rival the GBA games.
Yes. Yeah, cool. All right, Fire Emblem Three Houses. Okay, Brandon. I was gonna go to Hills.
All right. Wow. All right. Well, I gotta say my last and final game of the year. I'm keeping with the threes. I picked Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm gonna go with Borderlands 3. Have not beat it yet. I'm at 85%. I've stopped because I am waiting for Ills. We're actually gonna play multiplayer now because there's something about Borderlands that is much better and just much more fun to me playing it with friends. But Borderlands 3, Borderlands was gone for a long time, right? I don't remember how many years we went without getting a new one. But it just came back, and It didn't really revolutionize Borderlands. I think they played it safe, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I am okay with that because I just fucking love playing Borderlands. It's like the chillest game to just play and have fun. It's like a game that you can just hang out and play, if that makes any sense. You don't like it's Borderlands to me has never been like truly difficult except for like some of the crazy raid bosses. But it's got that unique sense of humor that I really love from Borderlands. It's just cool, cell shaded visual style. Of course, it looks better than ever because the last two games were last gen. And it's a fun time, man. If you're a fan of Borderlands and you haven't played Borderlands 3, you owe it to yourself to pick it up. And if you're not, if you've never played Borderlands before, I say this game is still a good spot to jump into. You don't need really too much prior knowledge of past games, and there's DLC on the way for this game as well. Borderlands has always had great DLC. I'm interested to see what we get for this one. So Borderlands 3 is fucking great. I'm glad the series is back, and give it a try.
Cool, awesome. Hopefully you and Ilse have a great time playing together.
Sure, we will.
All right, Ilse, what is your actual game of the year? I guess, right?
Yeah, my number one game of the year is going to be another indie game, and that's going to be Katana Zero.
Nice.
I played this game, I think, in March, and it's just stuck with me the entire time. It's just, it tells like a story of a traumatized war vet, and he becomes an assassin, and he's going through levels like side-scrolling kind of Hotline Miami Samurai Gun style. And it's really engaging on the gameplay side, just like those games are. But then it also has like some weird, quirky story twists. It's just like really psychologically kind of interesting to see that unfold. Like he has a therapist, and he takes a drug that lets him slow down time, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. What can I say? He's also going through like some flashbacks and going through some like hallucinations, which plays into the story really well. Man, yeah, it's just it left a phenomenal like mark on me. Since I played it, and yeah, that was just my favorite.
Yeah, I played through this game too, and I pretty much agree. I mean I think the Hotline Miami Samurai Gun comparison is pretty spot on. Like it. But it turned the top-down Hotline Miami feel into a side-scrolling game, and it worked really well, right? Mm-hmm. Like it did. They did a good job with it. I don't think it's easy necessarily to ape Hotline Miami. I know a lot of games have tried, but like I think Katana Zero actually does a pretty good job of like.
And they make it their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they make it their own, and I think that's the key difference too, right? It's like this game really comes into its own. Has a very interesting narrative.
Yeah, it does.
And
there are also like dialogue choices, which can actually change the way the story progresses.
That actually it genuinely changes. I mean, you can choose to like skip the dialogue, and that has an effect of like your character is actually telling the other guy to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, right? And you can you can unlock a secret boss if you do it the right way.
Yeah, which is
pretty fun. Yeah. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty dope. Sure, it's a good fight.
Might have to go back to it. The great thing about most of our games of the year, they're pretty cheap. We're recommending a lot of indie games, but they're great.
We're a bunch of hipsters.
This is my first game of the year indie game. All right, the other one was
sure. No, but genuinely, I do hipster. Think like
you didn't have any indie games on yours.
Yeah, because I'm not a fucking hipster.
You were the one who was talking about it. You made a special point.
It is funny for Brandon to say his spiel about AAA games and be like, my game of the year is Borderlands.
No, his game of the year was Pokemon, which like 1,000 people worked on.
Well, here's my thing about that. I look at Nintendo games and I put them in their weird own category. I almost don't consider them AAA.
I mean, you lied to yourself.
No, yeah, whatever. Okay.
Well, Nintendo's on their own level, okay?
But
Nintendo's not AAA anymore.
They're better than AAA. They're quadruple A.
Oh, wow.
I do think, we are getting into an interesting space where, like, genuinely, like, there's a lot of indie games that are actual, straight-up contenders for Game of the Year, and they go toe-to-toe with the biggest AAA releases, and I think that's cool. Speaking of, my final game of the year is also an indie game. It's another indie game, I should say, because I had another one on my list. But Untitled Goose Game. So this game, I mean, everyone has been talking about it. It blew up on social media. There's been so many goddamn memes about the goose.
Yeah, I mean, it might be like video game meme of the year, probably.
Yeah, honestly. And I think this is worth noting, because pre-release some people took notice, not as much as it is now. Right now, it's this huge thing. But pre-release people noticed it, and it was like, people were thinking, okay, this is going to be a meme game, right? This is a very funny game. I'm looking forward to it just because, like, the concept is crazy. Yeah. But it's probably not going to live up, right? But surprisingly, it did. I played through this game fully well knowing, like, the core conceit of this game and everything about it. And yet, I still had a blast. I played through this game. It took me about 3 hours. I played through it in a sitting, pretty much, I think.
Oh, shit. And you can have that can be your best game.
That's my best game I played. Exactly.
And it's a game that surprisingly works.
But exactly.
That too.
Yes.
Wow, it's hitting all the categories.
Yeah.
Also, it's also on Game Pass. You can subscribe now, 3 months for $1.
And Saf probably can't play it either.
Boom! You know, it's like
watch it.
I mean, clearly, Untitled Goose Game is the culmination of everything we talked about. But really though, this game managed to even full well knowing like about this game, it still managed to surprise me. It's a sandbox game that really just it's really fun, and it's really clever. It's a really clever game, and honestly, the ending alone makes the whole experience worth it. It is super satisfying, super funny. This game, it's great. Play it, like, just straight up, please play it. It's great. You know, highly recommend. So that's my final game of the year, and that is our game of the year talk.
We did it.
Now, before we move on to the list, Will is about to go and tell you all about his games of the year. So
skip to the list.
Check back with us in about 9 minutes. All right, and we'll see you then.
What a season it has been. Video gamers across the nation. Hello, this is Will remoting in. 2019's been a weird year in video games. That is a fact, Jack. As I go and I introduce my sort of personalized category, I find myself thinking back to when we introduce new segments on this podcast and saying, this is a bit of a mess so often, right? And oftentimes it's not fun messes. It's things about companies capitulating to authoritarian governments across an ocean. It's about fans and creators being more at edge than ever before. It's about just a lot of developments that can sometimes make your brain hurt. But sometimes there are messes that come along that you can revel in. That it's fun to engage in sort of how much of a mess it can be. And for me, there's no more adorable mess. My favorite mess of the year goes to Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, Kingdom Hearts 3 is a game with over a decade of build-up. Right? Kingdom Hearts 2 was 2006, I think it was, in America. Absolutely wild to wait that long for another numbered entry. Even more wild because the game expects you to know all the games in between 2 and 3, including the Japanese-only mobile game. This game is a mess, right? Some of the gameplay systems do feel half-baked. The story feels insane. There are parts that were in previous games that are not there anymore. But when Kingdom Hearts 3 came back, I realized how much I had missed this kind of weird, throw spaghetti at the wall type of video game from Square Enix, right? There is a part where they couldn't get the rights to Frozen's Let It Go, so they had to recreate it all in-engine. It almost looks identical, except Goofy's just in the background going gorsh to Sora. And that's insane. Woody tells young Xehanort he needed to be hugged more as a kid, while Buzz Lightyear is in the sky, about to be corrupted into a Heartless. I can't believe a game like this is allowed to exist in the era of the MCU, where things are so managed and controlled by Disney. It's insane to me. But ultimately, it's also hilarious because, like, it's the most spiteful game of the year. Tetsuya Nomura is allowed to sort of directly attack his bosses at so many different points along the way, including an ending that I feel like they can't have known existed after the credits. It's wild to me, and it's a mess, and it might be Ill's most disappointing game of the year if he makes that his category. I don't know. And I'm not saying he's wrong. You can feel all those ways. Because Kingdom Hearts 3 is a mess. But it is my favorite mess that I've had to deal with this year. Now, when it comes to old games of the year, though, we have a different set of things to look at. Another thing that I mentioned much on this podcast over the year was Game Pass. And Game Pass plays a major role in having this be my favorite old game of the year, which is Forza Horizon 4. Now, Forza Horizon is a series that I've known has gotten the best reviews of any Microsoft first-party game this generation, secretly enough. Pretty wild thing, to be honest with you. And people that I knew personally recommended it to me all the time, but I never got around to it until 4, which was on Game Pass when I got my Xbox One X. And I have had such a pleasure just turning this game on. It is effortlessly fun in a way that I've not felt about a racing game since Burnout Paradise, and even further back, ATV Off-Road Fury 2 when I was 7 years old on the PlayStation 2. Just an absolute open world racing game in the way that you envision it having been years ago, where almost all the walls are destroyable, where you can drive through trees and fields and see just limbs flying everywhere, and that being part of your strategy in a race. Having the chance to be racing against another player and making the decision, no, I'm going to go creating into this field because I think that it's better to drive as the crow flies than stick on a road, is a thing that I haven't realized that I've wanted in a video game for over almost a decade now since Burnout came out. And this is, I think, the best version of it. I think it's better than that. I think it's better than that ATV game I mentioned, obviously. It is worthy of the rave reviews that it's gotten, and if you have Game Pass, it's a thing that you should not skip. Now, I'm going to offer 2 runners-ups, just really quickly. Grandia 1 is a super pleasurable PS1 RPG. I've heard some people praise this game to the world and back. I didn't have that strongest feelings as some of them, but it is still an absolute blast in that way that PS1 RPGs have this special charm that you really just can't get now because of the way that they were figuring things out at that point. So Grandia 1, it is in the 1+2 collection on Switch, a great way to play it. Another game that I played for the first time on Switch was Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, another game that is an absolute blast. It's like an alternate reality of what these weird medieval Skyrim-like games could have been. There is a sort of great system that comes with having your companions with you along the way and sending them out to do their own missions. But just so many weird ideas that are being thrown against the wall. It's only a bummer that it's kind of let down by its kind of generic world, even though there are some really fun story twists towards the end of the game. So now we come to our game of the year. What are we going to talk about here, boys and girls? This is a lot. 2019 has had a bunch of releases from people that I love. Obsidian, Hideo Kojima, Remedy, From Software all put out games this year, but I'm not going to mention them on this list. And I think that's a good thing, right? I loved almost all of those games that those people put out, but it's good to have other people rise to meet their level. More things for more people is always a pleasure. And there's no game that caught me more off guard from a company that I think this is their first video game than Slay the Spire, my game of the year. Slay the Spire is difficult to describe in a way that sounds interesting unless you've already invested in it. It is a roguelike card building game where over 3 floors you go to fight to kill the heart of this spire, but you'll always be sent back down to the bottom even if you win. So where's the interesting part come from this? Well, it's the first card game that I've really engaged in any serious way besides like the Pokemon trading card game and Yu-Gi-Oh! And the reason why is because each card decision is building towards even more mounting decisions and opportunities, things you have to do. It is such a neat, basal, just constant set of interesting decisions that the game puts forward to you. And I think that video games can ultimately be drilled down to a list of interesting decisions you have to make. And no game got that, I think, more basic in its implementation, just understanding why that is fun in a video game than Slay the Spire. It's also the game that I've engaged the most with when it comes to dailies. Plenty of games have them. Spelunky's famous for sort of, helping to innovate them. But Slay the Spire, I think, has the exact right amount of different variables that I came back over the course of over a year, because I started playing this game back in 2018 in early access, and I still turn it on 2 to 3 times a week whenever I'm laying in bed because I find it that fun almost 300 hours in. If you have not played it, it is on Switch. A perfect fit for that. It's going to mobile next year, which is an even better fit in a lot of ways. But if you want to play it on your PC, of course, that is equally as good, in my opinion. That's where I played most of it. For my runners-up, I do want to give a shout-out to 2 games. I don't know if either of them will be mentioned along the way, but River City Girls is a incredible brawler with an amazing aesthetic, an especially great soundtrack, and a story that I think is tongue-in-cheek enough that it fits the tone of the game. There are some people I know that don't like how the story is presented. I, for one, found it to be nothing but particularly charming, and going back, I've played that game 4 times this year, playing as the different characters, so I cannot help but recommend it to anyone that is interested. And finally, my second runner-up and my final game I want to talk about is Tetris 99, a video game that came out of nowhere. It sounded like a joke, but when you play it, it is my favorite multiplayer Tetris experience yet. They've had great support for it with all the different events. There is such a layer of strategy that underlies just the traditional Tetris, right? It's the first Tetris game to ever make me have to consider doing T-spins, which I thought I would never say. I'm morally opposed to T-spins, but Tetris 99 is good enough, and I want to get good enough at Tetris 99. I may be willing to compromise my morals. So I think that's the highest compliment I can give. It's especially easy to get this game because you have a Switch Online sub, which if you have a Switch and you don't have a Switch Online sub, what are you doing? This game alone is worth it. So pick it up, try it out. If you're not good at Tetris, this may not be the game for you, but you know what? There's never a bad time to learn. All having been said, we'll throw it back to the boys. Sorry for boring you, if it did bore you. But ultimately, I hope everyone has a happy new year, had a great Christmas, and hopefully 2020 in video games is even better than this.
All right.
Wow, man, those games sure did suck, huh, guys?
yeah.
Well, one
Honestly,
of them
I would
definitely
say-
did.
Terrible opinions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was definitely the worst list of us all, I think. I think we can all agree. But, you know,
Ugh.
now that that's out of the way, you can scrub that from your memory. Just remember the things we said, honestly.
The things that matter.
And now, we can move on for the final time this year. The list.
The list!
Okay, so, last week, Safi added Super Mario Sunshine. Honestly, a game that Will was pretty upset that he added without him. Saf has this ability to pick all the right games that Will wants to talk about, and that
For
ended up
some
at number-
reason,
for
This-
some
it's Will's own fault. Because every single time it's Saf's turn, Will is not
Yeah,
here.
he's not here every time Saf is
The
gonna
last,
pick.
like,
It's-
5
it's-
times.
I mean,
Super
Have you
Mario
seen
them
Sunshine
together
was
in the
not
same
even
room?
my first choice of games. It's
Uh,
predestined at this stage.
and we do a rotation, so he knows when Saf is coming up, you know. And those are the days he's not here. So
Right.
I mean, if he
God.
was here, it would be his turn to go.
Yeah.
So Super Mario Sunshine ended at number 55. So pretty solid placement, I would say, though definitely weaker for the 3D Marios.
Because it's probably the weakest 3D Mario.
'cause it's-
I
yeah,
have to be
yeah.
frank.
All right, well, this week it is Ilz's turn. Ilz, what are you adding to the list? By the way, you can check out the whole list in the paste bin below, so you can follow along what we're talking about. So yeah. All right, let's go.
Okay, how many people here have played Final Fantasy IV?
Me.
Me.
Okay, we're
Not
doing
me.
that.
Well, rest
Right.
in peace, me.
Let's add Final Fantasy IV.
Cool.
Nice choice.
Yeah, all right. This is a classic Final Fantasy game. Came out a long time ago for the SNES, and it came out in America as Final Fantasy II because I don't know why. Stupid reasons. But this game
Yay.
actually tells a really great story of Cecil as his journey from a Dark Knight into a Paladin and all the crazy shit that happens throughout that journey. And it's actually pretty surprising the amount of things that happen to your party. Like, you lose a lot of characters in this game. They like drop off. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yes, they do.
it's really shocking, honestly. Like, if you think fucking Aerith dying in Final Fantasy VII or something, in this game, like, 6 people fucking I don't know if they
I
die,
know.
but they get like they almost seemed like they die. At least one of them dies, and yeah, it's actually like really amazing. I will say, like, Tella's Last Stand is so good. Oh man, yeah. there's so many like worlds. There's like an overworld and an underworld. You go to the moon. Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's so many cool things about this game. Yeah, you guys have anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, like I really, really like how Cecil's journey plays out, because there are very cool like moments in this game, like the actual moment where he's actually trying to fight against his darker self, which is something that I never really expected of a video game at that time to do, and it was kind of a revolution in respect to that. The music itself was pretty fucking fantastic. It has all the classic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think this is I don't know if this is the first game. This might be the first game that has like summons as part of your team. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, they're actually like a huge part of your team because one of your characters is basically all about summons. Basically, Rydia.
Yeah, Rydia. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of great characters in this game.
Yeah, there's a ton of great characters in this game. And I think this game kind of set the template for Super Nintendo RPGs, you know? As far as I can tell, I don't maybe I'm wrong, but this definitely feels like the first RPG that like had this type of grand story going for it with these deep characters, and you know, I can't think of anything like earlier than that. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know.
I'm not sure about the timeline, so I don't know.
Definitely the first Final Fantasy game, though. I think that is like this, right? That kind of set the template of what Final Fantasy should look like, right? Which I think is neat in of itself.
Yeah,
and the game holds up. The game holds up really well. Like the characters are still great.
Yeah, part of the depth of these characters is the fact that they each have their own class, and like it's really like interesting the way they all interplay with each other. Like. You have Rosa, who's a dedicated white mage. You have Kane, who's a dedicated dragoon, and that just makes them like really solid characters. You know what I mean? They all have their own unique identity and their role to play, and I think that's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they evolved. Didn't Edward turn into a bard at some point? I'm pretty sure. Like
Edward
he used
was
to be
always
a
a bard.
ninja, and then or
No, Edge is a ninja.
Edge is a ninja, right?
I think his name is Edge. Pretty sure.
Well, anyway, that's an aside, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the characters I think really do stand out in this game. You know, obviously it does not hold a candle to FF6, but what does?
Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's close. I'll say it's not like so far behind.
Oh yeah. Like it gets surprisingly close to how good FF6 is, and you know, especially for being the first of its kind. Like I said, like it you know, it does a great job right off the bat, and it's a game. I mean, I played it for the first time this decade. You know.
Which version did you play?
I played the Super Nintendo version actually.
Oh, nice.
Oh, damn.
And then I went back and also played the mobile version, which is the DS version.
Oh.
What is the DS version though? That's actually one of the few mobile ports of Final Fantasy that are not bad.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's the DS version.
Yeah, and you know, which version are we ranking? I guess because I don't know what I would consider.
I would rank the GBA version, which is the SNES version.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, GBA. Yeah, you're definitely right. That's easily the best version. I agree. 100%. Yeah. So FF4 GB and yeah, it's. I mean, this game holds up, right? Like, if you like JRPGs, I think it's worth going back. You know.
Yeah.
Definitely. So. Ills, where are you feeling? Like.
Oh man. I would put it above Red Dead Redemption for sure.
Okay. Ooh. Brandon's not gonna be happy.
Wow.
Oh, I can't say anything about it.
I mean, honestly, this is hard. This is hard. I mean, I think bare minimum I want it above Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. So, one space or two?
Yeah, it's one or two, yeah. Animal Crossing New Leaf is a big sticking point for me, though. But, oh, man, with you two, I'm guessing it's going to get over Animal Crossing anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how Saf feels.
Nope, Animal Crossing. I'm not too sure
I
if it's
know
better
how
than Red Dead, though.
I don't think he's even played Animal Crossing.
Oh wait, no, this is New Leaf.
He's a garbage.
I haven't played it. No, this is New Leaf. I played the DS version. I can't remember what the fuck that was called. Wild World?
Wild World.
Yeah.
I mean, so I would like it either above Red Dead or below Animal Crossing. That's where I stand. I'm fine with either or.
I don't.
Well, I like above.
I'm trying to think. Like, I enjoyed Red Dead Redemption. I played it this year. It was a really fun game. I haven't really experienced the multiplayer though, so.
I have this feeling that if Will was here, I think if Will was here, he'd be he would want it in a better spot. I'm just saying. I have this feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Will's picks for the game of the year were great. By the way, I was just joshing. Will, I love you, buddy, wherever you are.
No, I don't. Whatever you said, I say the opposite.
Oh man, but it's hard because.
Sorry.
I mean, Earthbound is a Super Nintendo RPG, also very different one, and gameplay-wise a lot more basic. I think. Yeah, it is. Though it is weirder. But the story that Earthbound tells, the way Earthbound makes me feel, is very unique, and so I do. I mean,
I will say Earthbound is more charming for sure.
Yeah, it definitely has more charm.
But I mean, I don't think it tells the same kind of story. Like,
no, it definitely doesn't.
Yeah, like
there's something about the stakes in Final Fantasy IV where it just always seems like it's getting to a breaking point and it goes further.
And then it goes further. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, how many people are we gonna lose? What the hell?
There's a lot of great moments and there's a lot of like memorable moments for Final Fantasy IV as well, which is fantastic. Like losing Rydia and then finding her in that entire world, and she's like grown fucking older and fucking more badass. That was amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned like Tella dying and learning, teaching Meteor.
Tella is so good. That moment is so good. Oh man,
yeah, it was fantastic.
One of the best Final Fantasy, scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had a boy, fucking the martial artist guy, Lydian, the monk.
Yang,
yeah, he fucking he gets fucking axed at one point. I was like, shit, man, I love that character. I love using him. There's just so many great moments in this game, memorable moments in this game. You know what? Thinking back, I'll probably put it above Red Dead.
Alright, fuck it, let's do it. Put it above Red Dead. Power
like,
move.
There's fantastic moments. There's too many fantastic.
Disgusted.
Oh man, soon the top games are almost entirely going to be filled with Final Fantasy and Zelda.
I hope so.
I'm okay with Zelda.
Because you haven't played Final Fantasy. There you go.
Fucking this narrative where I'll play the Final Fantasy
well, you
game.
played
I just
one?
finish it.
I played 30 minutes of a Final Fantasy and suddenly I'm a fucking expert.
Because they suck!
Yeah.
They're fucking boring.
Fuck out of here. No. You know why Brandon hates Final Fantasy? I'm gonna call it out, alright?
Because they're boring.
He's still mad about the playground FF7 versus Ocarina of Time argument.
What are you talking about? When I was on the playground, it was still fucking Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis.
No. So, he's mad that FF7 made Sony #1.
That has nothing to do with that shit. Oh my god. Still, keep painting your own narrative now, but...
Alright.
I mean, it's better than Red Dead, that's for sure.
Yeah. So Final Fantasy IV is number 14 on our list. Surrounding it is Halo 2, The Last of Us, Final Fantasy IV, Red Dead Redemption, Animal Crossing New Leaf. Very high placement. Nice. Alright, so that is our podcast this week. And this is the end of the year. So, we'll see you next year. But before that, you can find us on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on wherever you can find a podcast. So please check us out. Please, in the spirit of giving, give a recommendation to a friend to listen to this podcast. Let them find this podcast. Let them, it would help us out a lot. We would appreciate it. Give us 5 stars on iTunes, also all that jazz. We have a Patreon, by the way. If you like what we do and you want to support us further, go to Patreon, search Jump Up Supercast. Is it just patreon.com/Jump Up Supercast?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you can do that. So please, if you have $1 or so to spare, we would very much appreciate it. Otherwise, and you get exclusive access to our Discord channel, which is dope, and you get to talk to us directly. You get to. We're doing a Patreon game club raffle, so you'll be able to pick a game for the game club, all sorts of cool stuff. So just check it out. If you're so inclined. Otherwise, we also have a YouTube channel. We're on social media. Twitter's the best place to find us. Twitter.com/JumpUpSupercast, because you'll find out when episodes are going live. You'll find out when Game Club episodes are going live, all that jazz. Our podcast goes up every Monday. Our Game Club goes up every other Thursday. The upcoming Game Club is...
it is Freedom Planet.
Freedom Planet, which is like a cool Sonic-inspired game.
Yeah.
So listen to us talk about that. It'll be a good time.
Some would say it's the best fan project of 2016.
Exactly. There we go. Best fan project of 2016. But yeah, otherwise, thank you very much for listening. And no final phrase this year. Just have a happy holidays, have a happy new year, and we will see you next year, hopefully better than ever.
And we'll see you next decade.
I'll see you next decade.
Bye.